Well, the current edition of the Flames are showing a tremendous ability to come from behind in games. No, 4 or 5 goal difference, doesn't matter, they come back. But I recall a night in 1987, right around now, at the old Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, one of the biggest comebacks in the history of the team. Down 5-0 after the first period. 5-0 after the second period for Toronto. Then in the third period, a massive comeback. And Mullen scored in the last minute of the third period, and then Colin Patterson stole the show in overtime.
I stole it all right,
Wow.
Peter. Well, yeah. I hadn't played in like 3 hours, so I had lots of energy.
So, what, you were sitting on the bench?
Sitting on the bench. You know, as a defensive forward, and you're down 5, they're not looking for you to
Wait, no,
to
first
tie
of all,
up.
how many people did you, because that's your hometown.
Yeah,
so how many
hometown. So there's a bunch of people there, but, you know, back in the day, people don't realize like the team only got like 4 tickets, right? And then they had the option to buy like up to 20. So
and then your salary.
yeah, I mean, on my salary, it was like, wow. So, you know, you had to bargain with guys to get the tickets and, you know, even just to buy them. So, they, you know, I ended up buying 6 tickets and then everybody else sort of on their own to come. So that was good. I remember, I think it was partway through the second period after I'd been sitting the whole period. I remember looking up and, you know, you're in Maple Leaf Gardens, so the tickets aren't, you know, they aren't together. So you don't have like, you know, 6 Pattersons together. They're all split apart. And my oldest brother and my dad were sitting sort of across from the bench, but way up. But I found them, right? Because you're sitting there, you're looking around.
Not playing.
Oh, you're not
You
playing.
know you're not
I
playing.
actually had my skates undone. I was looking around, and I spot my brother, and he's got his coat, and he opens his coat and shuts it because he sees that I see him, you know. So he's got his Flame T-shirt on, you know, probably a Lanny Flame T-shirt. And he flips it over, flips it back, and, you know, I was like, oh, you know, and I was just like, what do you do, right?
So you're doing sign language
Well,
with your
yeah.
brother while the game's going
Well,
on.
the game's
it didn't
going
matter.
on.
They
It
were
didn't
using
matter.
many.
You
I
weren't
wasn't
getting the
playing.
pat on the back.
Yeah, and you know, back in the Gardens, like people don't understand. Like the bench, you could walk right by the
Oh,
bench.
right.
You know, there was no glass, there was no stanchion, nothing. You walk by and tap people. You know, a couple of buddies would walk by. You know, and hey, what's going on? You know, don't ask me. And then the usher would come move them down, right? Because that's just the way it was in Toronto. So, you know, we start to come back, and I go, you know what? Things are getting pretty interesting. And all of a sudden, you know, Mully ties it up. And, you know, I think was it Badger Crispy coaching?
No, Badger.
Badger, yeah. And Badger comes out, Patterson, get out there. I go, I had to tie my skates up. You couldn't believe how quick I tied them up, you know, for the last like 40 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And then we went into overtime. And I remember Kerry Wilson got the puck corner pass out to me. I just shot it, right?
What stick were you using?
I was using
Hespler that night?
No Hespler that night. No,
You saved that for 89.
Saved it for 89. And, you know, Pengy was playing that Donnie Edwards.
Oh, God.
And it went in on him.
Oh!
I remember jumping around. I pulled the old Mike Craig, you know, where's my dad? Where's my dad? Where's my dad? Right? That one. And I realized that they aren't even in their seats anymore. You know, they're at the bar having a drink. So like, at the end of the game, you know, after the game's over, you come out and, you know, they actually
Were you
had to
first star since you got the goal?
No, I was not even mentioned. You know. But after, you know, you
And
come
Doug
out.
Barkley pitched the hard working
Yeah,
Flame.
Doug Barkley did for those 45 seconds I played in that game. I was the hardest worker. But you come out, and it's funny because my, you know, some of my family had to get back in the building because they went out of the building. So it was great. It was a really neat moment, though. You know, one that you never forget.
Were you there, Perry? Or were you back in the studio again?
I was probably faking it with Grant Pollock back in
Oh
the
no, he's a
studio.
great player. He's a great player.
Because, you know, as you're telling the story, I don't remember it. So I don't think I was
I should
there.
have checked the lineup to see if you were in it. I know you were part of the team.
But this current edition, I'm telling
Yep.
you, you know, there's not a game that you watch that you go, they're right out of it. Because
No,
they can always come back, and, you know, they're just, it's really neat to watch. It's really neat to see.
Well, you know, I had somebody at the game the other night, and, you know, they're on this run. They're in first place in the conference, first place in the division, second overall in the league. I mean, how come they got so good after being so bad last year?
Yeah.
You guys got any answer to that?
I think Johnny Gaudreau is the straw that stirs this drink no matter what. And they got consistent goaltending.
Right.
So when Johnny is flying, and this year, every shift he looks like he's fired up to score. In years past, there'd be some, and then he'd disappear for a few shifts, and there'd be or there'd be shifts where he'd go hard for 30 seconds and then nothing. This year, somebody's lit a fire under him because I think he's inspiring and providing confidence for everyone else. Monahan's exactly the same as he's always been. He's kind of the boring Sean Monahan on the ice. That's a good finisher. Lindholm coming in was a perfect tonic for Johnny. Doesn't have to worry about positional play because he's in there. And Gaudreau is so hungry and he's so darn good. I mean, he's so good that he provides energy for that second line. And that second line, when you got Tkachuk doing it, all of a sudden, then all the other pieces, like of course the year Giordano's having, and
Brody's back playing, which is
so
is
much.
key.
Yeah.
But they've all got confidence. Well, not all of them. There's still a couple that
one
don't
guy
have
making a lot of money that's not.
The real deal is still finding his confidence, but otherwise, they've really got something going. But if Johnny's having an off night, I think it's going to be hard for this team to have that, come from behind thing.
Yeah.
They could maybe be front runners, but Johnny's the guy.
You know what's interesting is that I just thought of it the other day, is that last year when Yager was here, briefly, it wasn't too good an experiment, but nonetheless, he took Johnny aside one time and he told him, he said, you have the ability to be the top scorer in this league.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that kind of sunk in with Johnny and, had him better prepared for this year.
Yeah. There's something different, and maybe it's maturity. Who knows what it is, but he goes hard. I can't think of a shift that he hasn't gone hard. I mean, you can tell there's just a burr under him when he doesn't score.
And he even plays pretty good defensively.
Yes.
Yeah. And you know what I mean? Lindholm has just added to that line. I mean, that's what they were missing that along the way too.
Yeah.
And I think the whole trade has really benefited the Flames.
Oh.
I think moving Dougie Hamilton, allows Brody to play back with Giordano, and he's playing 10 times better than he did. You get Lindholm in, and I think that that whole trade has done a lot for the Flames, and the maturity of just their other players too. Like Tkachuk has been
phenomenal,
unreal.
He's like a 10-year vet. For in between the ears.
Yeah,
the guy is a smart hockey player.
Yeah. And I when I look at this year just to this point, I go, that game they played against Edmonton in Calgary, which is more of an old-time style, Oilers-Flames game. They jumped in, and Sam Bennett did an unbelievable job. He fought Darnell Nurse, which was unbelievable. And then Tkachuk, in the way he stirred things up. And it was funny because the Oilers were sort of dominating that game. And then in the third period, the Oilers got away from that, and the Flames came back and just, to win that game was huge. Because everybody was doubting them, right?
Yeah. But after that game, I remember Tkachuk didn't get a goal. He didn't get an assist, which means he never got a point. He never got a penalty, but he was the reason they won the game.
Yeah.
Because he was such an agitator, got the Oilers completely off their game. And the next time they went and played up in Edmonton, they didn't pay any attention to him.
No.
They just didn't bother. They were told by Hitchcock, the coach, just let him do whatever he wants to and just don't pay any attention to him. So
there are very few players like Tkachuk that come around that have all those intangible things that he can be an agitator, he can be a scorer, he can be a hitter, he can be a fighter, he can be a defensive specialist, he can be a power play specialist, a penalty. Like there's almost nothing the guy can't do, and they put an A on him this year. Which when he first came,
just 20 years old,
he was taking so many dumb penalties when he first came in the league. It was almost as if, let me check to see where the boundaries are. I'm going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing until I figure out where this is. And now he's, what a complete player.
Now, you played against his father. Was he similar?
He wasn't as much an agitator.
Yeah, I didn't think he was from my distance. But you guys,
back in the day, there was a lot more of those guys too. So it's hard to say. He stands out right now because there's very few of them. Maybe Brad Marchand. But there aren't many guys in the league like that anymore. Where before there used to be quite a few of them.
No, but his dad was big.
Oh yeah,
and could finish.
And powerful.
Could elbow you in the teeth.
And not know he did.
He's definitely got hockey genes and both of them do. Brady, his brother Brady
with Ottawa. Yeah,
I get they're playing the right sport.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
How great would that have been if they got Brady?
Oh, that would have been awesome to have the two of them. Yeah. What's it going to cost to keep Matthew here next year since his contract's up? And that guy in Toronto that's not doing anything, Nylander, got almost $7 million a year.
Yeah,
and I think Tkachuk's better.
Yeah, I do too. So what do you pay him, right? And
well, they had the unwritten rule that nobody gets more than the captain, Giordano.
Yeah.
And when they signed Johnny the last time, it was just under that. I don't think they're going to be able to maintain that to keep Tkachuk happy.
Yeah, it might be the Flames rule, but it won't be.
Won't be his agent's rule.
Yeah.
No, and although the whole idea of what's he going to do, these unrestricted or these restricted free agents, really, Nylander showed you cannot hold out, miss training camp, hang around, play with the Swedish league somewhere and Bantam AAA for a couple practices, whatever he did. You can't, and then jump back into the National Hockey League. And we've seen it how many times?
Many times the players didn't even stay out as long as he did.
You can't miss camp, even if you guys would get hurt in camp and are still hanging around. It's hard. So, what leverage does a restricted free agent truly have? No.
But when you look at that, you go, what did Nylander get?
He got what he wanted.
Got paid for the whole year. You got paid for the whole year without playing for the whole year.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a big issue. They should have,
And I recall after that happened, Brian Burke was on television and he made the comment that if you're going to pay him that much, why didn't you give it to him in September when you could have him to start the year?
Yeah.
So the whole point.
All good.
So,